The views and opinions expressed on From the Mouths of Madness are that of the panel and not of the Geeks Under the Influence Network or their sponsors. Listeners, beware. Coming straight from the Mouths of Madness. I'm Lowdown. With me as always is
F.U. Honor. What's up, you king-loving bitches?
King-loving bitches.
King-loving bitches.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Hail to
buddy.
the king, baby.
And you know, whenever we got King, we got to bring Myke Reiser on.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, yearly. It's like a yearly episode. Yeah, since we started 4 years, we had our 4-year anniversary last month, July. Well, 2 months ago, July now. Jesus, August.
Yeah.
No, it was August. It was like August 19th.
Yeah, it was
when,
August.
When we did it, Chapter 2. No, Scary Stories. It Chapter 2 was the second episode.
And one of our early ones, I believe, was with Reiser.
Yeah, because we did a King episode.
Yep.
And we did the Sid Haig episode.
Yes.
It was right. He passed right around King's birthday.
Damn,
That's coming up
right.
too.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. So, yeah, tonight we're going to be talking all things King in honor of the maestro's fucking birthday. The greatest horror writer to ever live. I mean, we've had some great ones, right? We had Poe. We've had how am I forgetting his name? The Reanimator.
H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Damn it, I was going to let him struggle for
He's
a
going to
second.
let me struggle.
Yeah, I was going to
This
let him
fucker.
sweat.
Like, how am I forgetting Lovecraft? Amazing author, but like King is just like, I don't think there will ever be another author that is as influential in a genre period as King was.
Yeah.
As King is to horror, and he's still writing horror. But I say was because it was his like first 30 years that just like set a standard.
Yes.
But no one was doing. The only one that
The
comes close is Joe Hill. Joe Hill writes some good shit.
The magic of
His
King
son.
is that, yeah, it is horror, but he also has those not horror that, you know, have also been just as strong. Like,
you mean the Tommy Knockers?
well, I was more talking about like fucking like short stories like Stand By Me,
Or
like The Body.
or like
shit
Bag of
that.
Bones? You mean like
Yeah.
Bag of Bones?
I'm just saying,
I mean
like,
his like late 90s, early 2000s, like esoteric, ethereal, spooky, spiritual, ghost fucking internal reflection books.
yeah.
I mean, he did have, that was 2000s.
Hey, I would posit he had to walk through that wilderness to write his finest work, Lisey's story.
That's actually not the worst, but it's not great. I don't know. What do you think?
I love it. I personally think that's his strongest hour because it's a great sort of document of his relationship, his legacy, his thoughts on family and marriage. It's certainly his most literary.
Oh, okay, I can see it from that point of view. I whenever I pick up a King book, I'm either coming from a hard fantasy aspect or like a hard horror aspect.
Yeah. It is not those things at all.
And doesn't I don't mean hard like it's got to be violent, but you know, just those elements are like it's soaked in those elements, right? And he's really good at both of those. So maybe that's why the way you describe it, it's almost like a different version of On Writing.
Yeah.
Kind
It
of.
absolutely is.
By the way, there should be a documentary coming out pretty soon, and an actual legit Stephen King documentary. I think done by the guy that did the Tom Savini one. That should be coming out.
Oh, the guy who did Smoke and Mirrors?
Yeah.
No shit.
I believe so.
Oh,
But
yeah.
because if you look up Stephen King documentaries, they're kind of basic. This one is supposed to be full in depth from like
Nothing will ever beat the time I got to go to DC and see him on his book tour for Revival, and it was like a 2-hour Q&A with Stephen
Fucking
King.
A.
That was amazing. Me and Ali and I went.
yeah.
That was like a highlight of my life, just being able to be in the same room as Stephen King.
I love you. I love you,
I
sir.
love you, dude. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So as you know, we've been what we've been doing in the last couple episodes is we've been chronologically going through his collection of stories and talking about the collections themselves, the history, and then also talking about the adaptations. We all know, and it's not you can't argue it, that the greatest collection was Night Shift, and of course that's the first one. So it's already been done. I could talk about Night Shift over and over and over again, but you guys probably don't want to hear that. So
On to another.
And it's also the most heavily adapted, you know, as a reason. And next, the one we did last year was Different Seasons, which has really good ones. Stand By Me,
Shawshank. Yeah.
Again, the literary
the
one.
literary one.
Yep.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not necessarily genre fiction at all. Some of them aren't even horror, but it is very literary.
I will say, though, there's still a horror element to both.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Stand By Me, Shawshank, and I guess if I'm coming from that aspect, I guess there is some of those aspects in Leslie's story.
Yeah.
I need to reread that.
Yeah.
Because I read it when it came out, which was 15 years ago, 16 years ago. I've aged some. Maybe I need to maybe I need to reread that.
Yeah, it is not a book for young people at all.
Yeah, cool. I'll have to recheck that out. So tonight we are up to Skeleton Crew, which is probably my second favorite collection of short stories, even though it does have some stinkers. But the good ones are like fucking fire.
Yeah.
Like they are on point.
I actually had a treat where one time I was taking a trip up to Philly and found it on book on like the audiobook of that. So got to hear several of them through just driving up, and that's how I haven't read the entire book, but I've heard a lot of the stories just from that car drive.
Who was each story a different reader? So it felt like you're reading a Stephen King version of World War Z.
Yeah. But specifically, I remember listening to The Raft and goddamn, one of the other ones. But the Raft is where I'll be honest, it wasn't until that point I realized that it was covered and that's not just an original thing from Creepshow too.
Mm-hmm.
In
the credits of Creepshow 2, it does say stories written by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So all three of them were written, but only two of them were written for it's either they were written for the movie or they were ones he hadn't published yet, but they were ones that he released in because he released so much in magazines through college and late high school that you lose track of that shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, the man's been releasing stuff since like 1967.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why this one is thematically a little bit more disjointed than Night Shift. Night Shift, obviously, they're all very taut horror stories for the most part. These are more interesting and spread out over his career and written for different things. Weird tales and science fiction journals and things like that. There's even one that he wrote as, I believe, a teenager that opens the collection after the novella. Yeah,
that was the I forget what that one's called, but so this book came out in 1985, but it spans 17 years of writing. So it's got 18 short stories, 2 novellas, and then it's got those couple poems. He wrote that one for his son Owen. And I forget what the other one is. So it's definitely a very broad. It's broad. Night Shift was very, like you said, tight and concise. This shit's gonna fucking scare you, and that was every story. This, he definitely does spread his wings a little bit.
This one's a grab bag. There is definitely 50s style science fiction, Lovecraftian horror, and then of course the stuff he does really, really well, The Mist.
Yeah. All The Mist.
Oh, The Mist.
Oh, so that leads to something I wanted to bring up. It takes place in Bridgeton, Maine, right? Which is the town in Song of Susanna and the Dark Tower. So that's those last 2 books of the Dark Tower series. So they share the same town. And Song of Susanna, doesn't it reference the pharmacy?
I believe. So,
yeah. That they go to with the spiders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, if you're a King fan and you're into King lore, you already know that the government experiment just opened up a thinny.
Yep.
That's for Hunter. A thinny is a very thin barrier between worlds that King uses that goes into other realities. Yeah. So clearly that's where that happened.
Oopsie.
Now, something I was reading a couple weeks ago was that the monsters that came out weren't from another world, but they existed in a dark place between worlds that was controlled by the Crimson King. Mm-hmm. Like, he controls all those creatures. That's why they're so fucking evil. So that was a cool theory. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but that would make sense. They're from the dark space. Todash.
Yeah.
Todash. That's all Dark Tower nerd shit.
And it would make sense. There is a lobster monstrosity that gets one of the main characters.
That is true.
In a very similar way to what it does to Roland real early in the Dark Tower.
Yeah. That's a good point. Shit, yeah. So that's the closest direct tie-in. And there's the man who would not shake hands. He actually revisits the club that's the club from the Breathing Method, which we talked about in our different seasons episode. That the one that hasn't had an adaptation yet. I guess we'd mentioned last year it was still in the works.
Yeah.
But I don't know where the fuck it is. It must be in production hell. I don't know. And also that club, I believe, is the club at the end of 6 that is the portal into the what's the name of the world in Dark Tower? What's the name of that world? Territories?
Yeah.
I'm brain farting. Is it the Territories?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Territories is Talisman. Anyway, at the end of the 6th book, there is a club that's got a bunch of low men in it. Mm-hmm. And so you could even say maybe some of the men in the Breathing Method that were at that club were low men.
Yeah.
You could even go there. And I think that same club was used in Hearts and Atlantis, because there is low men in Hearts and Atlantis.
There definitely are.
So that's kind of like some cool connections to Dark Tower. I always enjoy putting those out, because a lot of people don't know that literally his whole universe is basically built around the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
But he also borrows from somebody else's universe in this collection too, and that would be H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, the way, some of those monster descriptions there's definitely some Cthulhu going on
Yeah,
there.
Cthulhu is inspired, but Grandma is literally part of Lovecraft's world, including his mythos and the creations in it.
Is it? Go into that.
Yeah. So essentially, the story involves a small child who has to look after his aging grandmother, and the grandma scares him. Pretty normal situation. But it turns out she's got a dark history as a witch who practiced witchcraft, and it's strongly implied that she found some sort of Necronomicon or other sort of forbidden books and has a connection to an elder god that has given her a lot of power. And the Twilight Zone adaptation is even more explicit with it. Cthulhu gets mentioned by name.
Yep.
The sleeping ones get mentioned by name. Yeah.
I was
So
definitely
it's an H.P.
surprised.
Lovecraft story.
Like, I remember the grandmother's like she's dying, but then she opens her eyes, like they're evil eyes.
Yeah.
And, like, that's really all I remember from the story.
Oh, in the Twilight Zone episode, like they make her hands like monstrous, like they're still human, but bigger and like there's almost like
The claws, yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So, going into adaptations, Grandma was first adapted in 1985, season 1, episode 18 of the Twilight Zone when they tried to bring it back. And it didn't do as well as the original, but
It's an
it's
attempt.
because of the movie.
Yeah.
The movie came out and they're like, oh, wait, people love Twilight Zone. Let's bring this back.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that when you watch some of these like that and Tales from the Dark Side, you'll like start recognizing actors.
Oh, yeah.
And like this was like the
100%.
jumping off point because
Yeah.
even the kid and Grandma, like he's been in other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't pinpoint, but I've recognized him from other stuff in the 80s. So he did the Twilight Zone and then he did some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that Twilight Zone reboot had a fascinating writing history on it. There was a regular staff of writers, and then there was science fiction legend and all-around cantankerous bastard Harlan Ellison.
Yep. As soon as you said that, I was like, yeah.
He wrote the adaptation for that in a sort of good cop, bad cop thing. The show had gone all in on optioning a Stephen King story for a lot of money. The writers were given it and realized it's incredibly difficult to adapt because this is Stephen King with no action whatsoever. It's a young boy who cares for his grandma who's dying and meditates on the family's history and what it might mean for his future. How do you turn that into a story? And Harlan Ellison walked in and told the writers that they weren't worthwhile and they need to figure something out and they'll get it done. And in response, they go, all right, it's your assignment now. Write the episode.
And what he did was he just made
He
him narrate. The kid just narrates.
Just let him
like,
narrate.
Yeah. Just
Oh,
everything
shit.
that's going on.
Yeah.
He's like, Mom says I gotta do this, and like, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the adaptations I didn't get a chance to watch because I didn't look for the Twilight Zone episode, and Grandma has actually been adapted twice. It was also loosely adapted into a 2014 film called Mercy, which Chandler Riggs was in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Yep.
And you guys happen to watch that, so.
I unfortunately didn't, but
I made it all the way through from sheer force of will.
see, that's we did Children of the Corn. You can watch that piece of shit, all right?
Yeah.
I couldn't do that many in 1 week, all right?
Yeah.
Basically anything is a better use of your time than watching this absolute disaster of an adaptation. Nothing gels in it, is completely less than the sum of all of its parts. So we can start with the good. The setup is great. The boy has to care for a very creepy grandma who was like, before she went senile, was super creepy and made him do weird things. It's in an isolated house in the middle of nowhere. The setting is just fantastic. And then you bring in all these American Horror Story actors and other horror actors to play various family members, all of whom have a sort of secret hidden agenda. And then it immediately goes off the rails because none of it begins to make sense. There's no compelling through line. There's no real antagonist. And it all ties up into a pointless happy ending.
So they basically took a whole season of American Horror Story and crammed into a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, it was the whole sort of like throw spaghetti at the wall and we'll see what sticks.
Every fucking season of American Horror Story, dude, I'm like, oh, this is great. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, no, oh, fuck you.
Yeah, once you get past the third episode,
I
then
think
you're
a
like,
little further than that.
but that's
they can never bring it home.
No,
they can never bring it
after
home.
the third episodes where you're like, you can start picking up that they're kind of struggling, and then you get to about the 6th or 7th episode where they're just like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing anymore.
And I'm not going to watch you when you come back from break. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's good to know. I don't want to watch that.
It's all the more disastrous because it's like it was an early Blumhouse production, and then of course it has good, competent filmmaking. Like you can tell everyone who worked on this project knew what they were doing. it's just a mess by the end of it. It never goes anywhere.
When you have something that's completely communicated in an episode of an 80s Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
and you stretch it out to a movie, I feel like
It is.
Not every short story maybe needs to be stretched out.
No, and that's the challenge of it, because as Harlan Ellison pointed out, the story has no action whatsoever. There's not really conflict. It's sort of an exploration, and it works in the context of a Stephen King weird fiction, H.P. Lovecraft universe thing. It's got that interiority that just doesn't translate off the page. So Twilight Zone's a masterful stab at it, but Mercy is just so unpleasant to watch. The greatest mercy you can do yourself is to not watch the movie.
I'm doing that for me.
Yeah.
I'm totally looking out for me. I'm gonna take a me day and not watch Mercy.
Mark's safe from watching Mercy yet again.
Let's keep moving along with some of the TV adaptations. We struggled and went through the depths of the internet, almost into black web territory, to find and be able to talk to you about Word Processor of the Gods. The adapted in 1984. It's season 1, episode 9 of Tales from the Dark Side. Now, you young listeners, you don't know what you're missing in the 80s. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, we had awesome anthology horror shows growing up.
Yep.
And that was one of them. And they, for some reason, just like Tales from the Crypt, we have not gotten a Blu-ray or 4K release of this shit, and it's like infuriating.
Yeah, it's just they won't remaster these things.
I don't know if
they're
it's to
just
do with,
like it's 80s and early 90s. Go fuck yourself. Like,
yeah,
just give us what we want,
dude. Everyone our age will buy that shit, especially they put it in a nice little box. Like, oh, yes, gimme.
Yeah.
Like, gimme. And, like...
Plus, just commentary. Like, with these things, it's like there's all these people that, like, you're amazed were involved with these things.
Yeah.
And yet, they just ignore no commentary, no cleanup of these things. Everything's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It was the 80s. It was 90s. We don't care.
And I think Reiser, you and I were saying that, like, it might have something to do with, like, the Romero, like, not institute, but like whoever's taking care of the rights to all the Romero stuff right now, because that was a Romero show. You know, it was his show. He produced it. He started it to give new horror and like writers and directors a place to do shit. So
it's just weird that they would want to not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He wanted to be a prick and not let anybody see it. And remastered. So
you think like there's like I see people post shit about the movie all the time. So you think they would recognize that there was a show before a movie.
Dude, the movie? Yeah.
Anyway.
Early Steve Buscemi, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, young Christian Slater, Word Processor of the Gods. It was pretty much a straightforward adaptation. It was solid.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it and thought it was completely charming. This is Stephen King at some of his finest writing. It's akin to some of the other stuff he does, the classic Monkey's Paw setup. Think Pet Cemetery, and a human who has to make a very difficult choice about their dreams coming true, but at what cost? However, this one has an absolutely amazing twist to it that I didn't see coming when reading the story or watching the adaptation, and that is that it ends on a sweet, upbeat note, which is incredibly rare for Stephen King of this age.
Because you're waiting for it to be twisted.
Yeah,
like
and
for the
completely
shit to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, because you guys got to think, all these stories, these are like pre-it and is it pre The Stand? Yeah. It's pre The Stand. Yeah. So he's like still kind of coming into that sweet spot of like the top king, right?
But it's King, so we never trust, like, you mean a actual happy ending?
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
Like, we're just like, I can't trust a happy ending. What's going to happen? Oh, no. All right. And what's funny is that episode, the person that plays the main character in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck. What's that actor's name?
Senator Kelly from X-Men movies.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. People like this Jean Grey.
Yes. But I forget the actor's name. Like, he's been in so much shit.
Davison, I think, or something.
I'm brain farting.
Yeah.
Can't
but that was random because that's the youngest I've ever seen him. I'm just so used to him as Senator Kelly.
Yeah.
So
it was a solid adaptation. Man, see, if we had more anthology series coming out, we could get more of that. Oh, wait a minute. There was a new anthology series that we got from Shudder and Greg Nicotero. Creep Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, Creep Show. So, for everybody who's been watching Creep Show, because I know when I saw the trailers for it coming out on Shudder, I was like, yes. You've got the very first little offshoot special they did was the animated special. You got 2 short stories. Second one, the second short story, it's okay. before we get into the King adaptation, the second story, the only reason I know they're similar, where it's just narration by one person, but the fact that it's done by a teen who's tweeting, I wanted to punch my TV.
Yeah.
Well, it's a Joe Hill story for the modern age.
I don't give a fuck.
It's still headache inducing.
I don't give it. Like, the story is cool. The concept is awesome.
Yeah.
But
that shit is so cringy, dude.
And it's a dismal adaptation of his writing, too, because there's a lot more dread going on in the background in the Joe Hill story that doesn't translate to that medium of animated with narration over it.
So so that one still has reference to King. I mean, if it wasn't for King, we wouldn't have Joe Hill. So
that is true. That is
literally
scientifically
true.
correct.
How that works. But first off, I didn't know that was. I didn't pay attention to the credits. I did not know that was a Joe Hill story. And I did recently buy a collection of his short stories. Now I'm wondering if it's in that one. It's an early one of his. It's an earlier collection of his short stories.
Yeah, it's in the later collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But the first segment of the animated series, we get Survivor Type. Now, King himself has said, oh man, when I really get into the grisly dark stories, I really love those. But even Survivor Type was too much for me.
Yeah.
That's a straight quote from him. Like, because it
makes you a little nauseous.
It's fucked, dude. Like, so basic premise: dude's on a plane doing some shady drug shit, smuggling. Plane goes down, ship goes down, cruise ship.
Yeah,
it's a cruise ship. Sorry, it's a cruise ship. Cruise ship goes. He's basically smuggling drugs from somewhere to somewhere, and he's a doctor. Like, but his whole life's been shady.
Yeah, it's an engaging setup. It's basically like Goodfellas meets, the Donner Party.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, because he talks about even as a kid, he hired some people to beat the shit out of guys and deliver his teeth, and then he finally becomes a doctor.
Yeah.
It's like, and then I started selling pills to people.
Yeah, but it's classic Henry Hill.
Prescription pad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was just like, hey, got to protect the hands. The whole time he's protect the hands. So basically, the ship goes down. And he's stranded on this tiny little fucking island, and that's it. It's just him
and a dead seagull
and a dead bitch.
And a dead bitch. Yeah.
To the side. I think he called her Susan or Sally.
Yeah, she's an invention for the show, which makes it even grosser on the show.
Yeah, it makes it way grosser on the show because he thinks about eating her at one point.
Because in the Stephen King story, all he's got is enough water to stay alive, some first aid medical supplies, and all of the heroin in New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will say, King was smart. This story would not have worked if he wasn't a doctor.
Yeah.
Because he knew how to cut and seal and tie off wounds and shit. If it wasn't a doctor, he would have been dead after he cut off his first foot.
So he knows how many cuts to get his foot off.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Oh yeah, you like that? It was animated and it was still fucked up.
He got high as fuck before he did it. He's like, all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
if you're gonna have to cut your foot off,
the whole heroin thing was a great idea at the beginning.
Yeah. That's
part of also what led to his insanity at the end was not only starvation and dehydration, but lots of heroin.
Yep.
He starts eating that fucking bird. Ugh.
So for those, I highly recommend this one. It's pretty much, like you said, outside of they added the dead body. It was pretty much beat for beat. The backstory. It's literally two voices, and it's fucking Kiefer Sutherland.
I was about to say,
like, it's fucking
and if
awesome.
you're gonna do one, someone that has his imprint
voice,
on
man.
a King property.
Oh yeah.
Fucking Kiefer Sutherland.
Fucking Ace Merrill, baby.
Yeah.
And the
fucking Ace
King
Merrill.
voice comes through so strong because some of the prose is just included line for line. It's all voiceover. The Stephen King one is written as a series of journal entries from our protagonist, and this just reads exactly the same way. Basically, the only thing that's cleaned up are like the various ethnic slurs that Stephen King used in the day, I guess, to give the person three-dimensional realism back then.
Yeah, I mean, we could really talk about that, dude. A lot of King's early stuff. If you guys are not familiar with a lot of his early works, like there's some stuff that might make the younger generation angry.
Yeah.
That's the way of putting it.
It's a 50-year-old sensibility in a lot of ways.
He's not worried about
I mean, but also King's not like that, but he's also going to write for his time and the way that he believes the character is.
And Survivor Type's character is a rat, an absolute scumbag weasel who doesn't hesitate to throw other people under the bus to save his own skin, and despite being accomplished enough as a surgeon, still feels the need to get one over on the man and do shitty things.
100%. And you basically just get the whole experience of him slowly starving, he having to resort to eating seagulls, and then, he goes to signal a plane, and Hunter's favorite thing, we get even animated.
Yeah.
That was
Fuck, dude.
that foot break was better than the eyeball scene in the Children of the Corn remake.
Yeah. Well, obviously, and it's animated.
It was animated, but then
fuck that.
I love that how he's just like, gotta take care of this.
Yeah.
Snort some heroin.
There's just something about, even though it's animated, just like everything is just kind of.
Well, it's how, and if you notice, they switch how he looks depending on the perspective that they're drawing him from. Like dead on, he looks like a fucking zombie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you get it from like a low view or a side view, he still has like some meat on his face. You know what I mean? Like it's depending on how they shoot, the angle they give you depends on how fucked up he looks. And the problem was when he cut it off, he was like, well, I guess I cut my other one off. It's meat.
Yeah.
Sweet meat. It's like he's starving.
Yeah, and it's a nice translation of what King accomplishes very, very well in the short story, the literary technique of watching the man's sanity fray in real time. It goes from absolutely beautiful, flowing, memoiristic type prose into incomplete sentences, fragments, jarring images mashed up against
Into
each
just
other,
lines.
and then into just random lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how they incorporated the diary and in showing you that towards the end of the segment that he's literally just gibberish.
Yep.
You know, and they literally ended the segment the same way the book ended. Lady fingers. Because he
eats his own fingers.
Yeah, he eats his own fingers. He basically goes from foot to below the knee, to above the knee, to right below the crotch on
Ears.
both, and the ears and his nose.
Yep.
And then he has to dig in. And so the big difference is in the end of the book, he had cut off one of his hands and was eating it cut off. Where in the show, he still had both his hands. He was just eating it on his body.
Yeah.
Like, God, it was so fucked up. Man, it was one of those. It was so short. You know, it's like 25 minutes. But afterwards, you're like, oh.
I don't even think it's 25 minutes, man. I think
what the fuck did I just?
I think it's only like 12 or 15, but like
there's two segments. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, because of the environment and everything, like every second is like.
But I know Reiser can as well. Between reading it and watching it, it is one of the most anxiety-inducing things that King has written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like it.
I wanted to rewatch it, and Charlotte came in. She goes, "I don't need to see this one again."
It's fucked up, dude.
She turned around and walked out. She's like, "I've seen this once. I don't need to see it again."
It's
like,
fucked up.
Yep.
And it's not because it's shitty. It just kind of fucks with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It just fucks with you, man. Because you literally, the way they do it, and you like I said, it's two voices. It's amazing. This character, and then you just get like still image flashbacks, right? And so you're just with this character, and it's done so well in the book and in the animated segment where you're like putting yourself in his position, and you're like, oh, would I do that? And then once you're there, and you're like trying to get into the mind of the guy, then you're just there the rest of the ride, man.
Only thing I wish they had done is when he does his flashback explaining his childhood, it just inserted a little Rolling Stones. So we had that complete Henry Hill, Goodfellas, like, you know, even at the age of blah,
also
blah.
King.
Yeah.
I mean, King loves his old rock and roll,
right,
man.
but I'm just saying, like, you could have just completely had an animated Henry Hill, Goodfellas, just put a little Rolling Stones in the background.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland did his best to get the accent at times. Like, I will give him that. He didn't have the accent all the time.
No, it comes and goes.
It comes and goes.
It's Kiefer Sutherland, though. He has such a distinctive voice anyway.
Yeah, I'm like listening. I didn't notice it in the intro credits, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, man, I know that fucker's voice. And he said something a certain way. And I've watched and rewatched so many Kiefer and Donald Sutherland films. Like, I knew that voice, and it just took the one phrase said the right way. I'm like, oh, that's fucking. Then I looked it up when I thought I had it. I'm like, it is Kiefer Sutherland.
I'll freely admit, I was a hardcore 24 person for a while. So
yeah, it's very Jack Bauer.
Yeah, very Jack Bauer. Jack Bauer doing heroin.
Oh shit!
Which
I think
he actually did one of the seasons. Holy shit! Yep.
So definitely, highly recommend it if you have Shudder. Go back. It came out in 2019. It was right between season 1 and season 2, I think. It was the first one-off. They did another one-off after season 2, but...
And I think it says, does it say, like, special or animated
it
special?
It says Creepshow animated special.
Yeah, because there's the...
That's what they did for Halloween that year.
Yeah, because then there's the Christmas one that followed that, right?
Yeah, and that's a live action. Yeah. I dig the animated thing, man. They need to keep doing that shit.
It worked.
It costs them less. It was 2 voice actors. I mean, keep rolling out with that. That would be fun. We're going to get into one of Hunter's favorite little 1987 adaptations. Came out in Creepshow 2, second segment. We're talking about the fucking raft. That's right.
By far my favorite one. I own a fucking, like, Blu-ray collector's edition of Creepshow 2.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the first story. I enjoy the third one. But it's mainly for the fucking raft. That is one of the best.
I do enjoy all 3, but...
but, dude, hands down, the effects, just the pacing, everything, the environment, that the raft is top notch. Like, it's crazy because how much people shit on Creepshow 2.
No, it's and is it one? No, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
good. It's good.
But I mean, I think the first segment, the last segment, that's kind of like okay, but the raft, I think, puts it top notch.
I don't know. I mean, I love the raft, but I will say that, like, I mean, that especially that third one, that one's fucked up, dude.
Can I get a ride?
Dude, the makeup on that shit's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Like I don't sleep
think
on that.
When you literally have like the first victim of the raft, and like she comes out, and you just see and
twice.
You know,
she comes out twice.
yeah, and you see her skin just melting and being eaten, and like it just gets in your fucking head. And then the dude, when he gets pulled and you see his leg,
I'm sure you love that.
Forehead,
I'm sure you love that.
He
Yeah.
gets pulled, and you're like, that hurts. That's because you can tell it's like starting to suck, and then it pulls him, and his fucking foot touches his forehead in a way that it shouldn't happen.
So like they, the way they do that, it's like very enunciated. Like he's kind of being held there with his leg, and his other leg's being pulled down, and then all of a sudden it's like a loud like crunch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Fuck you. Yes.
Oh, the hips shouldn't go that way. But it's pretty much shot for shot of the story.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a great translation of it, and I have conflicting feelings about it because, yes, the Stephen King story executes the violence incredibly well, and the film's practical effects are just fantastic, the goop melting people and stuff. But at the end of the day, this is possibly one of the dumbest Stephen King premises for a story, and basically gives that Family Guy joke its meaning of like, you know, what do you got for us next, Stephen King? Oh, it's a haunted lamp that has to fight a haunted stapler. It's like, you're out of ideas, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I am.
So the story involves a group of kids who swim out to a raft on a lake, and they get menaced by an oil slick that is somehow sentient and defies the laws of physics.
Yes, it is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it
it's
is ridiculous.
Absurd.
and actually having that high quality like Blu-ray, because I have the Arrow video release of it.
That's the one I have. Yeah.
It does not do that slick any justice. It looked like I was like,
No.
as a kid, I'm like, oh man,
But
that's creepy.
it does have-
as an adult, it's like, oh, that's a fucking tarp.
Oh, before he eats anybody, it's just black trash bags with balloons underneath. All right, that's all it is. It's just like,
But the practical effects when he's eating the
but
when the thing is
when
eating,
it captures him, that's when you're like, oh shit.
except for the
Yeah.
last shot.
When it jumps on
That
top
was,
of him,
oh god,
The
Yeah.
title of it.
God.
and that I feel like, why didn't we have where you just see his arm like after it happens, and like just swallowing his hand or
Instead,
something like that.
instead it looks like a snake going back into the water where it just ate its mouse. You know, like its belly's full. Like, it's
But
just
I will
bulge.
say, you also kind of, have the part where, there's this kind of rapey part right before the finale.
Kind of?
Where
Yeah,
and in the
on.
book, and I
It's
remember
straight rape.
And I remember when I realized this was a King short story, because as I'm listening to it on the audiobook, and there is details of as he caresses her nipples, I was like, oh, so this was also in the short story.
Oh yeah. No, dude,
It's in the short story,
King-
but it's not as egregious in the short story.
which
Yeah.
is surprising because
Yeah.
King is
loves
known
that
for
kind of
that
thing.
shit,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
when he has like a gangbang of little kids and it. Like,
Yeah.
he's not shy to sex.
But
in his books.
I thought that maybe that had been adapted to make our main character, quote quote, was supposed to be a survivor, kind of the more of an asshole in this
He's
one.
not the good guy you think he is.
And he's not the good guy you think he is, where he's like, well, one girlfriend.
I will say in the
melted, I
adaptation,
guess
she had
I
nice
could-
titties and a nice body.
Yes.
I'll give her that. Now,
And it's a weird
how was
moan.
that battery? How was the battery not dead and still playing the radio the next morning?
I thought about
They
that. It
still
should've
make
died
cars
during
like
the
they
night.
used to, man. That's how it is.
No.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Admittedly, Creepshow has a short window to work with, but it does miss some of the more survival-oriented elements of the Stephen King thing. In Stephen King's world, that lake is just outside of Pittsburgh in October, and dying in the water or dying in the air overnight is a real risk,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which isn't present in The Raft because it's beautiful and lovely, and we have that incoherent line of,
No, they
the
say it's
water's
October."
45 degrees, it'll
Yeah.
kill you, and
Yeah.
it does not appear to be that way.
Yeah.
But you do get that element of like when they're on the raft. I mean, like they start to
Oh yeah, they
they're
shiver.
fucking
The actors
cold
do a
as
good
shit.
job of like doing
Yeah.
the shivering,
Yeah,
and
shivering
all that
and-
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was that part of it where maybe he was just like, well, we got to figure out a way to stay warm, and I guess maybe titty touching and make it from
Ooh.
there.
Hey, sex keeps you warm.
But I will say with the adaptation, the other thing I do like is that she's kind of like moaning, and you're like, okay, and then you realize, oh, that's not moaning, and then she turns.
It is moaning, just not from.
But then she turns sideways, and it's such a like we're about to oh fuck
Yeah.
like we're about to fuck to oh fuck you're the next victim.
That's it. There
You're
you go.
fucked.
Yeah. And I guess it does square sort of with the vision of the short story, because the narrator in that, or our protagonist, I guess, does definitely think about like kicking his friends off the raft to get a head start to swim ashore.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and he uses that to get to shore.
Not
The dumbass
cool,
stopped at the shore, like, come on, bro, like,
Not
keep
cool,
going.
Pancho. Not cool, Pancho.
But that was for the shit show that the story is. They brought it to screen really well.
I think it's because of practical effects. That's why.
Oh yeah,
I
like
love
when
it so
it's
much.
acid and it's just like eating away. You just see chunks of flesh
You
starting
just
to
know
disappear. Like that was
person-
rad.
Everybody that gets taken in, that has got to be so fucking painful to the last, till they're skeletons. I mean, like they're just excruciating pain.
So that kind of brings us to the big king swinging dick of the adaptations out of this story, The Mist.
When in doubt, get Darabont on your property.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, like Darabont is
Seriously.
just gold, man. Especially with King, Shawshank, Green Mile, fuck off. Like those are amazing.
And
like,
astonishingly enough, this one marks sort of the end of an era for him. It was the last movie he made, and sort of the last kind of thing like that. I rewatched it with some friends, and everybody remarked on like how remarkably clear the visual quality of it was, how you can actually hear the movie, which is a huge problem in the modern age. And just like the pure technical aspects of the filmmaking are just old school Hollywood at its best.
100%. And, you know, it was 2007 when
Yeah.
this movie came out. And, like, I hope those actors in The Walking Dead are still sending him, like, thank you letters, because two of them, they're lucky he's a guy that likes to bring his friends with him on all their
yes.
properties.
The dude that played Dale, I mean, he's had in like almost all of his movies.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then Carol.
Carol, yeah.
That actor, I forget her name, but
The wah wah and The Mist.
she's like, hey guys,
Hey.
we made it.
Yeah, I left. You're fucking stupid.
Still one of the most horrific endings in
God.
the film, dude. That shit. And you know, I'm glad he went that route, so it wasn't the same as the book, because the book is just kind of they keep driving.
It's hopeful.
It's
You're a
hopeful.
radio station out of Hartford,
Frank
Connecticut.
Darabont's like, fuck your hope.
Yep.
But what do you
Make
do where in the adaptation, like you see these giant Cthulhu style creatures just walking across, you're like, there's nothing we could do. We couldn't beat the small ones. Now
Give up.
they're fucking like the size of
The further you go out, the bigger they are. Yeah.
We're fucked. I mean, yeah.
Dude.
If you can't beat the little ones, you ain't beating the big ones.
I will say that is probably one of my favorite shots from the film is when they just stop and this fucking thing that's like 4 times the size of an
Just
AT-AT
fucking
crosses
huge, yeah.
the street. I'm like, what the fuck
And that's
is
where they're
that?
like, well, end of the line.
Yep.
That was kind of the convincing thing.
Nothing
of like,
we can do.
Yeah.
Nothing we can do.
I mean, if the spiders can fuck us up, that thing is gonna have a fucking field day with us.
Well, that's definitely Cthulhu-ish. If you pay attention
Yeah.
to the head,
Yeah,
there's
there's
tentacles
tentacles,
coming
yes.
out, and and I love how like in the store, a couple times like larger creatures. So you knew there were larger ones out there. They like because it pulled the dude's legs out of the way.
Oh yeah.
And something it got something else, but it looked very lobster-ish, almost like it was like a mix of like a xenomorph and like a lobster. Does that make sense? Because it like I don't
thought
know.
it tentacles.
No, I'm talking about on the front
Oh, the front. Okay.
through the window.
Oh yeah.
Remember, it took the guy's legs, the
Oh,
half
yeah,
of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just very, very creepy. So you knew there was some bigger shit. And then the spider scene in the pharmacy. Ooh, buddy.
And I'll repeat this. And this was Darabont's intention. And if you haven't seen this, which most people have, but I had the joy of when Charlotte wanted to watch it for the first time, I said, we're watching the right way. The way Darabont
Black and
intended.
white.
Black and white.
Black and
and
white.
it is fucking beautiful in black and white.
And actually, the CGI doesn't look as bad in black and white. I'm
No.
sorry. That's the
But you
only.
could
That's
tell-
the only fail-safe
you
for that
can
movie.
tell he
I'm
shot
sorry,
it
the only thing
with
that
the
fails.
intention of black and white.
Oh yeah.
Like specifically that spider scene in there has a whole different look to it
Yeah.
when you look
fucking
at it that
creepy.
way. Yeah.
But I will say the black, like again, the black and white helps the horrific 2000s CGI. 'Cause I'm sorry, the tentacles they look.
There's only a few moments when the creature gets through the window. That one's rough. That when they
The
finally break
tentacles,
through,
dude, it looks like you could tell they're not there.
that's bad. But I think when that flying creature breaks through and lands on the floor,
yeah.
I wish I didn't see that.
Oh, and it's
I wish
like
you could just cut
it's
that
like
out.
a pterodactyl looking.
Yeah, it's fucking not good. It's not good.
But
And
overall-
amazingly enough, that is like King's original vision. He started the story idea with a pterodactyl in the grocery store as he was entertaining his son one day.
I think if it had just
Yeah,
crashed
that's
through,
awesome.
yeah, that was
I
like the
didn't know that.
kernel of the idea behind the Mist.
I think if it
Shit,
had
yeah.
crashed through and just knocks you over, but you have a shot of just seeing it on the ground and getting full, I don't.
And walking towards the boy. Yeah, no.
That's where you're like,
no.
I kind of wish you hadn't shown me that.
Yeah. But I will say the spider scene, all that looked pretty fucking solid, dude. Like that shit looked.
The
It was because it was
dude
dark
shaking?
lit, and yeah.
Oh fuck.
Because they also incorporated practical effects of all the spiders bursting out. Well, but the spiders bursting out were CGI. That's the only part that failed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the pedigree of the crew on The Mist is just unparalleled. Frank Darabont worked on The Shield and directed an episode of it, and he brought an actress from The Shield with him, as well as their entire camera department. So it
Where's
uses
the actress?
she plays the love interest in the story in the book. Yeah, can't recall the character's name right now.
Oh, the clerk for the military dude.
Thomas Jane's counterpart.
The counter. Oh, you only see her at the beginning, and then when she's dead in the movie.
Yeah, she goes in the car with him, and yeah,
He's talking about. She went on to play. What's her name in The Walking Dead?
yeah.
God, I can't believe I blanked on her. But yeah, the blonde that he meets in the store.
Oh, the ex. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because remember Thomas Jane's character leaves his wife at the house.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
she'll be all right.
The
No.
new Mrs. in the Stephen
In the-
King novel.
Yeah.
I got you.
The like technically we're not divorced yet, but there's a bunch
Oh
of webs.
yeah, she was it began with a D. I hated her fucking character. I'm glad when she died finally in season 4. Fuck her. No, her character was shit in Walking Dead.
The one
Yeah.
yeah, she had the sister that died.
Yeah,
the
it's
first
like season 1. Yeah. Yeah, she was in that, and then there's a bunch of actors. Like the crazy religious lady, she was in a bunch of shit.
Marcia Gay Harden. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
a decorated actress.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the pedigree for this thing is just incredible. So you've got the Shield crew working behind the scenes to make everything feel very claustrophobic, very fast paced, lots of up close shots of faces and disjointed camera work. And then you've got K&B Effects doing a bunch of the practical effects work, which is just fantastic. The Kill Bill folks. And then, of course, the two dudes he would bring with him to do Walking Dead, Nicotero and Berger.
Yep.
Nicotero, I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to meet him next month. Yeah. He's going to be at Monster Mania.
Oh,
Fucking
yeah.
stoked. And I will say that, like, I love how they really captured what King did in the book of just how there's always going to be classes and there's always going to be tribes, even when they've only been dealing with this for less than 24 hours and they've already got groups upon groups trying to fight it. Now, there were more in the book than what they showed in the movie. If I remember, there was more because in the movie they mainly just show the religious zealots, but in the book I thought there was like a few other.
There's the out-of-towners.
There's the out-of-towners. It wasn't just the one guy; it was a whole group of out-of-towners. That's
Yep.
right. Yeah. And I love how they just show that humanity is doomed to do that shit over and over and over and over again,
When
no matter
literally
what.
it becomes almost as dangerous inside that store because of that than outside with the creatures.
Where's the real threat?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's a classic theme that Stephen King keeps harping on over and over.
the stand
Under the dome, sleeping beauties.
the
The humans are often more dangerous than whatever the exterior threat is.
truth.
As I'll always quote Ripley, I don't know who's worse, us or them. You don't see them fucking each over for a percentage point. Like,
Yeah, seriously.
it'll always be like, yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, truth. But and I love, but then you also see the people that are doing the right thing and are trying to lead, because you have to have people that have a clear head and aren't just going into hysterics.
Yep.
In any kind of emergency situation, right? And so that's our main characters.
Oh, and William Sadler, who from Shawshank,
Oh, he lost his fucking mind,
and
man.
so easily he's turned.
But dude, I forgot how powerful his acting was in that, though.
Yeah.
Like when he comes back from the pharmacy, he's losing his shit.
Yeah.
Like they give a good close up of his face, and I'm like, damn, bro, okay.
But it also
Like-
makes him an easy target for like,
The religious zealots. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, when you're at your weakest is when they strike.
Yep.
So that's again, they show that in the movie, and the King does that really well in a lot of novels. So yeah, no, this is an amazing adaptation. Now I have not seen dick of the show that came out in 2017.
I have watched every single episode, and again, like Mercy, I would urge anyone listening to not waste their time.
it's one of those things. There's several shows that are based on properties that you're like, kind of why? I don't know if Scream would be in that same category, but you just kind of, I don't know why they made a Myth show. I don't know why they made a Scream show. There's just certain properties, maybe just don't.
Stop making shows.
Just don't. Yeah. Again, how about all that effort? We re-release something like Tales from the Dark Side, new shit like that. Instead of wasting shit on Scream and fucking Mist and stuff like that, give us some original stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Bring back Masters of Horror. Something. Fuck,
Seriously.
man. Like now. We forgot to mention the first opening scene of The Mist, we get Roland.
Yeah.
I want that fucking painting. Like, I don't know where it is.
Oh, having Thomas Jane as the poster art, like artist, like is fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. Like, he's the one that's drawing Roland. Oh, man. And then, like, of course, when the thinny opens and the storm comes through, it destroys the painting. Like, that's brilliant. That was brilliant. I want that fucking painting, though. Like, I want that shit in my house.
There's also John Carpenter posters on the wall in there.
Oh, yeah, there's a thing. There's a thing poster. Yep. Shit, yeah.
The OG, I
hope
believe.
that wasn't a trivia question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the original. It's just the image, not the title.
Yep.
It's just the... Yeah, it's fucking... God, that movie's so good. God.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Urge you to watch it.
There's actually a documentary on some of those artists from the 70s and 80s that did the painted movie style, the movie posters. It's actually really cool to watch. I think it was on Tubi or something.
Tubi's got a lot of documentaries.
But you forget, and like people talk about how like you get to all these badass painted style movie posters, and then you get to the lazy mid 90s where they're like 2 heads, photos of the actors. That's all we need.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
Changed and pushed that style out.
It's a white background with 2 actors in the name and the big red letters.
Yeah, Grady Hendrix did a terrific chapter in his book on horror, Paperbacks from Hell, about the old horror painters who just made a life living making horror movie posters, making paperback covers, etc. Oil on canvas. So much artistry has been lost in the Canva era. It's super sad.
One of the things they say is like Creature of the Black Lagoon was only really successful initially because the poster was so enticing.
Yeah.
And it's like
that's where most of that stuff,
you just
dude.
don't have that anymore.
Yeah, those of us of a certain age will remember like picking up VHS covers at the movie theater and at the video store and bringing home absolutely dismal movies that were not as good as the cover advertised.
We actually mentioned that on our
Dreamscape. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Terrible.
Yeah, the poster art's awesome. Movie fucking sucks ass.
Yeah, we brought that up on our anniversary episode where it was the Birth of Madness, where we talked about that was part of the conversation was the artwork, man.
Sometimes good and most of the time bad.
Oh yeah.
For every Evil Dead 2, there was some piece of shit.
I guess really what's left to mention is so there is the story, and Raj and I were talking about this before we recorded. It's called The Jaunt, which is a really good story, and it was slated to be adapted by Andy Muschietti, but he did it instead. So I can't be mad at him for doing that because both movies were good. First one I like better than the second one, but they're still both good. You gotta if you watch them as one movie, then it actually flows a lot better than splitting them up. If that makes sense. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of Dollar Baby adaptations that happen. There's like a list. There's like 10.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest things Stephen King does. If you're a film student, a young artist, etc., and you're doing something not for commercial work, you can call him up and option any of his stories for $1 for your college project or your high school film club.
He keeps the rights, but he'll allow you to use it for $1.
Yep.
And that's brilliant. That dude is such an amazing advocate for the arts. Like, I think he donates an average like $4 million across the country to libraries to keep them open. Like, he wants people to read. He wants people to play music. He wants people to make fucking movies. He wants people to keep being creative and have an imagination. And I love him so much for that.
Yep, and he's still out there championing all kinds of creators, writers, musicians,
he's still writing.
Yeah.
He's still dropping books. Fucker's like 78.
Yep, yeah. Holly just released. I've read 2 chapters of it so far.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was coming out, so I need to get on that. Is the intro over pretty good so far?
Oh, yeah.
Typical King, oversaturation, setting up the scenery kind of thing.
Yeah, and she's She's a divisive character in Stephen King's universe. I love her.
Okay. Yeah, so that wraps it up for the Skeleton Crew. Thanks for listening to us nerd out about King, because there's never a wrong time to nerd out about Stephen King. But of course, that's not everything. But before we get to our last segment, take a listen to what's going on the GUI Network.
In a world with too many reboots and remakes,
2 men will stop at nothing to make it even worse.
Join Myke the Hobbit and Tondi as they play by their own rules while pitching new takes on some of your favorite and least favorite films and TV shows. What podcast would dare to bring this upon the world?
This is Smack My Pitch Show.
My name is Amy Bogard.
And I'm Myke the Hobbit.
And we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIPodcast.com.
Coming straight from the mouths of madness, I'm Lowdown.
I'm FU Hunter.
Do you love horror?
We fucking do.
So this is a podcast dedicated to all things in cinematic horror. We're talking movies, television, composers, special effects artists. We're going to fucking cover it.
So if you love horror,
Embrace the madness.
In a world of blockbuster movies, there's another dimension.
The dimension of schlock cinema. Join us at Beautiful Disasters on a journey into the fringe territory of B-movie abandon.
We review the flicks that are forgotten or underappreciated to give them a proper place in the annals of celluloid history.
I'm the Groots,
FU Hunter.
your guides at Beautiful Disasters. Come along with us for a fun ride. May
the schlock be with you.
All right, so every one of those shows you're the trailer for, you can find anywhere you get your podcasts, and also at GUIPodcast.com. And when you go to GUIPodcast.com, make sure to go to our links tab and click our links to TeePublic and it's where all the merch is for all the shows under the GUI universe. We've got tons of tangential
best time
fun.
of the year to go there too.
Oh yeah, we got spooky designs up.
Spooky all over the place.
And they will be up for a little while, but definitely get them before Halloween because, there's a sale every week. Shipping might take a couple weeks,
Get those designs
so that way you have them in time for Halloween. You can wear them all through October. If you do go buy anything, make sure to tag us, tag GUI, tag the Madness, tag whatever show merch you bought, and that way we'll repost it and we'll just share the love. And we would love to see you guys rocking some of our stuff. Now it is time for
Stump the Host.
All right, so I took the lead last time.
Oh shit!
No, I'm letting him know. So I took the lead last time. Yeah, that's what happened.
And you had nothing to say?
I took the fucking lead.
Oh, yeah. You
that's
want to talk
what I
some
did.
shit?
I am. I took the lead.
Oh, okay.
I'm leading.
No, but that's like very lightweight. You talking?
It is. It is.
Yeah,
but it's very direct.
You're nervous. You're nervous.
It's very direct. It's very direct.
That's your lead.
Direct is you no longer lead. I do.
I'm saying
So-
back in the early days,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
like, how's my dick taste? Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking the lead. Now it's like, I have to lead, and I have nothing else to say for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good sir.
See, I didn't say it like that. I was just like, I'm fucking winning.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Now, Reiser gets to determine who goes first.
So you have the lead and you're winning.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll start with you then.
Sweet.
Great.
Oh, that's going to fuck me.
All right, so Amber Heard is back in the news because Elon Musk made her dress up like an Overwatch character and put the pictures out on X, his platform. So Amber Heard starred in John Carpenter's last movie. What was it?
John Carpenter's last movie?
Yep.
Oh, what was his last movie? Oh, he directed?
Yes.
Wasn't Ghost of Mars, was it?
Later.
All right, well, that was my answer, so Hunter.
I know what it is, but I can't think of the title. I'm fucked. I would say The Gallows, but that's not it.
Yeah.
The Ward.
Yeah, I knew it was like
I didn't know that was a
something.
fucking movie.
Yeah, I just couldn't think of what the actual title
right.
was.
Since we're doing flops, let's go with that for a little bit. This 2016 mega budget horror movie about sanitariums in the Swiss Alps completely flopped. What was it?
I feel like Steven knows this. So
I can't remember the name.
oh, could you repeat the question? Real
Sure,
quick?
it was a 2016 film that flopped about sanitariums in the Swiss Alps. Big budget horror from a master of the genre.
Yeah. Can't remember the name. Fuck me.
Wow, I am drawing a blank too.
A Cure for Wellness, directed by Gore Verbinski.
It's got the
Fuck.
yeah. It's so because I said I can't remember it. That's why you
Yeah.
let it come to me. But it's got the Kid from Chronicle in it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Fuck me. It did flop. It was. I didn't watch it. I heard it was terrible.
I love certain things about it and hate certain things about it. Way too long of a movie.
Yeah. So unless while I'm answering, Hunter says he doesn't know it, he goes to him if I can't answer it.
But yeah.
Okay. Just
I'll
remind
count
me.
that. I think you said you didn't know it, so that's
Yeah,
why he said.
that's what I'm
so.
saying. I said I didn't know it, so
We're 0-0 right
We're
now.
zero
so
fucking zero.
Great. We'll keep this moving. We'll start putting some points on the board here.
Uh-huh.
We're going to do some horror movie cars. Christine.
Plymouth Fury.
Very good. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead car
Oh,
in all of his movies.
God damn it, Plymouth. God, fuck you. I'm not remembering right now. I can tell you the color.
okay. I don't remember the model, but I know it's an Oldsmobile.
Yeah, that's close. It's the Oldsmobile Delta 88.
Delta.
1970.
God damn it.
So, I mean, I got.
I kind of was hoping I could just say the color, but fuck it.
I won't count. I mean, I know it was an Oldsmobile, but I didn't get it right. So.
All right.
We're still 1-0. So
Most recently seen in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, it was. Floated around there.
Fuck yeah,
Still
it was.
going.
And technically, it's also in the Evil Dead remake.
It's
Yep.
not. It's the Evil Dead remake. Yeah,
Yeah.
she sits on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Multiverse of Madness came out after that.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying a non-Raimi. I mean, he
Yeah.
produced it, but
Fair. And all right, so it's 2 more questions. All right, now I'm going to lead. So
2 more questions. You're in the lead. The Death Proof car.
Dodge Charger.
Close.
I thought it was a Charger too. Fuck.
It's the 1970 Chevy Nova.
That's a fucking Nova?
Yeah.
It is.
Is it? Yeah, I thought it was a Charger.
All right. Well,
All right.
last question. Tie it up, Hunter. Come on.
All right. What was Hannibal Lecter's first screen appearance?
Well, I would hope it's Manhunter.
It is.
All right, good.
So we're tied. So we need
Yeah.
a tiebreaker. Now, how do you want to do that? Do you want whoever raises their hand first, or
Sure, let's make this really, really exciting. There are 2 very famous actors to portray, or 3 very famous actors to portray Hannibal Lecter, and 1 not so famous. Name me the one that isn't Mads Mikkelsen, Brian Cox, or, of course, Anthony Hopkins.
Can I say what the movie is?
Well,
God
we
damn
know
it.
what the movie is.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the doofus who played him.
Ah,
and
fuckhead. Yeah, I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so you need another one.
All right, let's go to another one then. Since we were doing adaptations earlier, and this is a Stephen King one, name this adaptation of a Joe Hill novel starring Daniel Radcliffe as a man changing.
Horns.
There you go.
God damn it.
Boom.
I was trying to listen out for the rest of the question. Asshole.
You didn't know it. You didn't know Horns was a Joe Hill property.
Yeah, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I
Damn,
knew it.
I'm
but
surprised.
Yeah. You got
Daniel
the job on me.
Radcliffe.
You got me on-
Like that's the only adaptation Joe Hill has, and it's got Daniel Radcliffe in it.
Yeah, plus
Well,
it's Radcliffe.
Full length movie. I mean,
There's only so many Radcliffe movies,
so
all right?
now I'm up by 2, bitch.
Yeah.
All right.
Ugh.
See.
Came down to fucking double tiebreaker kind of shit. So
Yeah, that was good questions,
Yeah.
Mike. Thank you, man.
Thanks.
It was a lot of fun. Hey, all right, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed us. I know it was a little more, it was fun, but it was also dry and very informative because that's what we do.
Yes,
That's what we do with King.
Yes,
you
we
know?
like to give information out.
Yeah,
too.
we like
We are men of literature.
we are
Yes.
in film. So that's why this is the perfect. It's a perfect combination.
You just got your master's in fine art.
Fuck yeah, and no debt. Reiser, thanks for coming on
Thank
as
you.
always, and we hope you had a blast.
Oh, absolutely.
We had a blast. Always have a blast having you on. We need to have you on for something else besides King.
We had him on franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was 4 years ago.
No. It was like
Yeah, we did Friday the 13th.
Friday 13th. That was fun as shit.
That was
It was.
a while ago.
Yeah, it was. I didn't say it was recent, but
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Again, thank you everyone, and until we talk to you again, embrace the madness.
Join us at GUIPodcast.com.